Welcome back. In this third part to a three-part series in digital coloring, I'm going to share some techniques for adding some effects to enhance your digital color. So this is a fun one. Buckle up, enjoy. Let's get right to it. So let's think about some of the things that we'd like to convey outside of just our color flats and our shading. We want to be able to indicate whether something is transparent, whether something is opaque. And I'm going to start off with something very, very simple. I will start off by adding some light from our flashlight. So I'll just go ahead and have this established with the polygon lasso tool. And I'll pick a yellowish color. I'll flood that color in. And I'm going to make sure that this is set to screen, like so. Now, when this light is flashing or when this light is on, I want it to appear in such a way that this foreground pipe is in front of the light source. Right now, we're not really getting that at all. So I can drop the opacity so I can see behind that layer. And then using my pen tool, I can click and drag. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a selection around the pipe. And let's just go ahead and close it. We'll click Make a Selection, choose New Selection, and we'll hit Command X to cut it. And then we can bring up the opacity. So now we have this light source, and let me just zoom in a little bit more here too, because I want to see this rounded point. So I'll use my regular lasso tool, and now we have our light beaming. That also creates a leading line back towards our character. So that was done through a screen layer effect. You can pull this down. You can see that there's a bunch of different types of effects you can get. Screen is really great for things that are glowing, that have some kind of a light emanating from it. And what I've just done is just establish that light behind our foreground element. This preserves the depth that we want to have within the scene. And all of these effects are actually happening above my inks layer. That's something I wanted to note. Let's now consider for a moment the bubble that our little bear is in. So what we can do is we're going to make that appear to be more transparent. We're going to start off with using the elliptical selection tool. Try to get it as close as you can. It's not going to be perfect. We'll pick a bluish color, or whatever color you want. We'll fill that in. And then this time what we'll do is we'll take a look at, we have multiply as one option. We also have soft light, which I kind of rather like. And with that, what we can do is we can alter this curve, this selection here, because it's not filling in the full area, by hitting the Command T tool and choosing warp. And we can just move this selection in and make whatever adjustments we need so that all parts of that bubble are fully filled in. I'll hit enter. And the difference here is this is what it looked like before. This is what it looks like after. Now that I've added that bubble in, I'll make a layer above that and I'll add a highlight. Remember, we're having our light source coming in from the left side. You might see an opposite highlight on the other side where that light is bouncing. And so that gives us the illusion that our critter is inside some kind of a bubble. I can do the same thing for this young lady's visor. I can take my pen tool and trace the opening where she can see. Convert that path into a selection. And this time, instead of using the light blue, maybe I'll use kind of a purplish color. And that's also soft light. So this is what we have before and after. And if I don't like that purple, I'm not really digging that too much. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just try a darker blue. And then on the layer above that, we can add that sense of something that's being reflected. So now it looks like her head is actually behind that glass. Okay, so we've done a couple of really neat effects here too. And we don't want to get too carried away with it because then all of a sudden we can just have a hot mess. So we want to be very controlled with your usage of that. Now I want to consider something else too. Something that will maybe add some atmosphere and some, something that can kind of bind all of my colors together. So I've added those effects in here. And on my topmost layer, what I'll do is I'm going to put a color unifier. And this color unifier's goal here will be to influence all of the colors underneath. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'll just do an extreme case. I'll pick a red color here. On my topmost layer, above everything else, I'll fill that in. And then what I'll do is I'll go to my layer effect and choose something like soft light. Now, with that red, now you can see that all of the colors that are in this composition have that red. That's kind of an extreme case, but just something that you can easily see. What if now I hit Command U and I play with the hue? So now I can affect the overall vibe that I'm going for here too. I can maybe make it desaturated, give everything kind of a greenish tint to it if I want, or I can give it kind of a bluish tint, something that's a little bit more desolate, isolated, and I can tweak that saturation so that it has more of that cold feel that space normally has. So this is known as the color unifier. It's usually the very last step in my process where I establish all the colors and then this is what it looks like before. Again, nothing wrong with that, but this just kind of makes it seem like it's much colder. Now, some of you might be saying, well, what about the background here? The background is just this kind of weird blob. It's just kind of, there's nothing really happening with the background. What if I wanted to add stars or something that will enhance that particular look? And to that, what I will say is, you always want to keep a collection of textures that are going to be at your disposal. And just to go ahead and show you what I work with, this is just taking a second or two here, but I have a collection of textures among other things. You can see all of the different types of textures that I actually have. These textures are usually available for some type of a nominal cost. Sometimes you get them for free. You don't have to use this. You can also make your own textures as well. But generally speaking, when I'm working under a crunch, I like to work with textures that are already pre-baked. And I'm going to show you how to use a texture here to kind of affect a star type of simulation. So I've got this grainy or gritty texture. I'll just kind of pull this over here on my canvas so you can see what it looks like. It just looks like a bunch of dots, randomly placed dots, which works perfectly for space. So I'll position this in an area that's going to be somewhat comfortable. I'll hit enter. It's going to bring that object in as a smart object and it's placing it on the topmost layer. Let me now make a selection around all of the space area here. So I'll turn off temporarily my grains and select everything like so, and then go back to my grain layer. If I hit Command J, it's going to move that grain that's in that selection onto its own layer. And it may not be easy to see because it's black, but what I can do now is I can hit Command U and bring up the lightness. And I'm not going to make these all white because it'll look too intense. But what I'll do is I'll drop it down to about maybe 65%. So now I've got this thing that looks a little bit like space in the background. So this is not meant to be a comprehensive, all-encompassing, all the tricks that you can do type of thing. This is just something that I think will get you started. If you watch these 3 videos in sequence, it will hopefully give you some starting point to where you can begin your digital coloring exploration. So If you find value in this video or any of the other videos that I've made so far, definitely appreciate a thumbs up or a like, just so that more people can discover this channel. We're growing already at a pretty significant rate. I'm just happy that more people are finding value in these videos, but every subscribe really makes a huge difference. So consider doing that if you're getting value out of these videos. As always, thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any ideas for future videos. I'm always open for that. And I will see you in the next one.